Hello, 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 a very warm welcome to all our friends, viewers, stakeholders, fans of Africa Rises Susan West. It is a brilliant Sunday. I sound like I've lost my voice. That's because I partied yesterday and I did a lot of screaming. So once you join this broadcast, do remember to like, share, follow, subscribe to all our channels. So, yes, we did start a series last weekend talking about personality traits and how it affects leadership styles on the African continent. We are doing something a little different today, and that's only because some of our guests, had to reschedule due to busy schedules that coincided with today's broadcast. However, the topic I'm about to do today, we're not going to be here too long on today's broadcast, but this is something that I came across this week. I turned on my television to GB News. GB News is a TV station here in the UK. It's literally it is Great Britain news, and the first thing that caught my eye was the backdrop, the write up on the backdrop that says UK advises Africans to farm insects to avoid starvation. And when I saw that, I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. Now, you can understand that when you take things out of context, it can sound um, a little different from the intended purpose. However, there is no way of knowing what the intention was, especially because it was something that was broadcasted on a British national television. I took offense to it because just reading that UK is advising Africans to farm insects to avoid starvation for me was just it standing alone was disrespectful. I felt like it was derogatory in a way. However, I had to go into a little research on my own to read about insect eating and all of that. And I thought, how many Africans would have stumbled upon that broadcast the same time I did and would have taken offense and felt disrespected? So I thought to shed a little light on the eating of insects and why, even if Africans do eat insects, we don't need to be told by the United Kingdom or anybody for that matter whether to eat insect to survive or not, because we don't go about telling other people what they eat or what they should eat to survive, even if there is famine in the land. And of course, the way a message is portrayed, the tone a message is communicated with or in can make a whole lot of difference on how the recipients will take it. So if there is any good intentions behind this advice, it would have been understood by many people like I did, because it was just something that was standing on its own. So really quickly, the question I want to ask you guys as you're watching is it acceptable or unacceptable eating insects to survive or to avoid starvation as advised by the United Kingdom to African nations? So, a little background to insect eating, which is something I want Africans to know that it did not start with us, and even if it did get caught on by the rest of the world because the Chinese eat it, the West eat it, and once upon a time it was something that was known to be an elitist kind of food, you know. So, just a little. So, as far back as 3,200 years ago, the Chinese consumed insects as food. Okay. And a lot of us are not surprised when we read about Chinese people eating insects for food, because they still do it, and it's public knowledge that there's quite a lot of creatures and insects that Chinese people eat, and we don't really understand, but we don't criticize them for eating it. And also, I just want to take in the Roman and Greek times, in ancient Roman and in Greek times, the um, the scholar Pliny in the first century did author a historian naturalist where he wrote about Roman aristocrats who loved to eat betel lavi, red on, flour, and wine. So, if all of these people once upon a time saw insect eating as something that was aristocratic or elitist or something for the rich, wealthy, and famous, there is no way that we will come back in this century for a certain group of people to make us feel as though um, it is an archaic for an archaic group of people who lack the sophistication to know how to survive or how know what to eat or find food for themselves, even if there is famine or starvation. Literally, when I started reading into trying to find out why that was, Richard Chola, Richard Chola, welcome. Richard Chola says unacceptable. And Musa has gone put the scary emoji on his face. And Kasonde Kapungwe says, I wonder how you people that side say Africa is starving. Can you specify the places where people are really starving? That's a very good question. That is a very good question. I live in the United Kingdom and we're struggling to make ends meet right now. I'm sure it's all over the news in Africa, everywhere in the world, about living wages and living costs and cost of living. You will hear it in many different ways, but literally everybody is struggling to survive. And why it was coined to say that Africans should farm insects to avoid starvation is perplexing to me, because if anything, Africa as a continent and Africans as a people are the only ones who can survive from the earth they live on, the earth that God has given to them, because it is all the manufactured foods and refined foods and processed foods are alien to us, and hence the reason why we fall ill once we adopt the lifestyle of the West to eat canned foods and processed foods and all of that. We don't need to be told by anybody other than ourselves what to eat and how to survive. You know, Anderson Fury. Oh yeah, welcome. And Casio Garcia from Brazil. Joseph Imevic says, oh, thank you. Says, nice watching you live. Oh, Sinovia Ridley, my beloved sister from the United States. Greetings to you too. So basically, a little background that I wanted to give as I continue to research on why Africans are being advised by the United Kingdom on to eat insects to survive or to avoid starvation. And literally, it was just all about the war in Ukraine, the war by Russia and Ukraine that has now, well, what's the word? Has made it difficult for most of the world to get their grains shipped out, because according to what we now know, most of the grains, at least a good percentage, if not 50%, of the grains consumed around the world is something that is shipped from Russia and Ukraine. And so, of course, everybody is feeling the bite. Everybody is feeling the pinch of the war, because we live in a global village. But singling out Africans to advise them on how to survive by eating insect, I think is a little bit disrespectful and distasteful, the least to say. SKSK watching from Uganda, welcome, welcome. Surviving we are not, but living we are. George Kalungombe says, surviving we are not, but living we are. Absolutely. Absolutely. I live here in the United Kingdom, and I cannot, of course, ignore the fact that there are certain things that work better here than I have back home in my country, Nigeria. However, it does not in any way compare Because if for any reason I was given a choice to say that these are your options, where will you choose to be? I definitely will be choosing to stay back home. There are circumstances and reasons, of course, salient to individuals that drive us to the different countries around the world, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, the world is it's the world belongs to everybody, so everybody can choose to live wherever they want. And simply because we come here and live here doesn't mean that where we come from is unlivable, unsurvivable, and that everybody is struggling. If for anything, most of us had a better living standard of life back home. And so yes, I do agree with George, who said surviving we're not, but living we are. Absolutely. And Faith Dave says, ooh, oh, thank you, Faith. Thank you, my sister. Clasio Garcia, welcome. And Injiju, Heal Africa Injiju says, shine on Africa's great daughter watching from UAE. Oh, welcome. Salam alaikum. Now, Sandile in Lamini says, oh, watching from Swaziland. Swaziland. Oh, we need your help, guys. Oh, Sandile, we love you. We love Swaziland. We love the fact that there is a lot of tradition that is still upheld back in Swaziland. And we enjoy watching from here. We follow a lot of what is going on back home. So, yes, basically, the reason that advice was given was basically because of the war that is going on in Ukraine, and so the shortage of grains going around the world. But no one has gone around to say to the United States of America to eat insects to avoid starvation. No one has gone around to say to the Chinese or the Asians to eat insects just to survive or to avoid starvation. Therefore, nobody should think they have the moral obligation or some sort of care to tell Africans what to eat to avoid starvation. Africans back home on the continent are not starving. There are a few pictures that is on in the media space that make Africa look like everybody there is hungry and starving, and that's a lie. Because here in the UK and in the United States of America, I have seen people live in absolute poverty. And poverty and wealth is a relative term. All right, so just to make sure that today's broadcast is not very prolonged, as we look forward to having our guests back on next weekend to continue the series that we started about personality traits. I'm just going to take a few more reads and then we'll call it a day. Linda Lewis Nkambela says, watching from Mozambique. Welcome, my sister. And Musa, I can't say your name. Njangula, I think. We're being disrespected as Africans. Can't even imagine myself eating roaches. Quite frankly, now that you said that, Musa, I'm gonna give a little bit of a let me see if I can find that information on nutritious insects. And one of the things I want to say is, even though it might have been said in a derogatory way, there is not all insect that is. There are many insects that are very high, that have very high nutritional value, and Africans have been eating insect just like, well, different kinds of insect. That it's not all insect that are edible or safe to eat, of course, and what is acceptable in one culture will be like a taboo in another culture, which is understandable. But now that Musa talked about, of course, roaches is something. Of course, no. I'm not sure. Even the Chinese people who will do a lot of experimenting with a lot of things. I'm not sure if I've seen them eat roaches. Have they? Oh, they do. Oh, I've never seen it. But that's something I cannot even imagine in my worst days, even if I had nothing to eat. So let's see. I'll give you a little rundown. What's that information I picked up on about insects, edible insects, and they're very, very highly nutritional. Oh, maybe I should share some of these pictures instead of talking about um, them. I love these pictures, to be honest, and the reason I love these pictures is that they're not black people eating it. It's actually people who look a little different from us. Okay, so there are insects that are edible and very nutritional, and there is no reason to be ashamed of eating it if it's edible and if it has the sort of nutrition that you need. I mean, God has given us all these varieties of um, foods to choose from. Let me see. Is there a way I can make this bigger? I don't know the names of this insect, to be honest, but you can see um, Spanish people eating it, Mexicans eating it, Koreans eating it, in India as well. The Japanese, the so some people eat grasshoppers. Wow. Okay, it might be strange to me, but that doesn't mean. I mean, the locust beans. Sorry, the locust that was invading some African Somalia recently was, I mean, they took advantage of it and converted it into food instead of allowing it to become a menace, eating up all their crops. So, let's see. Ooh, yeah. What's this one called? I know even back home in Nigeria, I've seen people eat it, and I just thought it, like I couldn't even stand it, but it doesn't take away the fact that there are people who eat these things. Um, anyway, to cut the long story short, you can see a little bit of what I have on my screen. I mean, this is a massive, massive industry somewhere around the world with all these insects, and there is no reason we should be ashamed to eat what we want to eat. But we cannot accept to be told what to eat to survive because we are not. We can think for ourselves, for crying out loud. Yes, so I'll just take a short read of some of the comments and we'll call it a day. Um, right, so what's this here? Welcome, Joseph Bell. They always want us to put in our minds that we badly off, and I don't like it. Farming insects may not be bad, but saying to survive starvation is highly disrespectful. Absolutely. That's why I felt very offended when I saw it on Great Britain News, because I thought, what is behind the thoughts, the mindset that is trying to portray Africans as though it's gotten to the point where we're going to die of starvation. I mean, we have the most fertile land in all of the continents of the world. Um, Joseph Mervick says, greetings from Papua New Guinea. Insect eating is common, especially beetle from palms like sago palm. Oh, wow. Thank you for that. Welcome, South Africa. My prayer, we need to work together. That is so true. We need to work together. Sifamandla. And okay, Joseph Bell is from the UK. Welcome, Joseph. What's this here? Sorry, what have I done? Bear with me. No, no, no. Sorry, not you. Sorry. Okay. All right. So replying to Sandile Dlamini. Oh, okay. Speaking Swahili. I don't understand Swahili. Is one of the languages I want to learn. Synovia Ridley says, I would try it. Absolutely. Even if you did want to try it and you want to go for it, go for it. There's nothing to be ashamed about. It's a 3,200 years old tradition way back in China. And I believe it would have been even longer in Africa. So we have nothing to be ashamed of. But nobody, absolutely nobody, should tell us what to eat to survive. Musa says many Africans get grasshoppers. Yeah. Kwame Kwame says the French eat snails. Yeah, we eat snails. Where I come from, we eat snails as well. Synovia really says the West eats all kinds of things. Boshelo Ngwato says we are together. Absolutely. On that note, we are together. Always remember to hold your head up high. Remember you are African and proudly so. And we are in a dispensation, a generation that will not be ridiculed, shamed, or made to bend to put our, how do they say, put our tails between our legs. Absolutely not. Insect eating is for all human beings, all civilizations eat insects, all races eat insects, and we should not be shamed to believing that we eating insects because that's all we can. We will, as a matter of fact, eat it as a matter of choice because we come from a continent that is absolutely blessed with everything. And so, on that note, Curtis Ross says, learn to eat live. Okay. On that note, I just want to call it a day. It's a very short broadcast today. But on Sunday next week, I've got a beautiful guest, fantastic guest for all the way from the United States of America who will come and help us understand more about personality traits and how it affects leadership styles on the African continent. Until next time, remember, if this is the first time you're joining us or you have been joining us and not liked, followed, or subscribed to our channels, please do so. Until next weekend, stay blessed and keep remain beautiful. I love you all. God bless you. My name is Susan West.